What we have here is a cylinder with a height of 5 centimeters and a circular surface with a radius of 2 centimeters. And we're going to use those dimensions to find the surface area of the cylinder. And we're going to find the surface area in terms of pi and also using 3.14 for pi. Now, to understand where the formula comes from, we should just understand that a cylinder has 3 surfaces, a pair of congruent circles as well as a rectangle. Now, to find the area of one circle, the formula is pi times the circle's radius to the second power. And with the cylinder, the 2 circular surfaces are congruent to each other, which means they're identical in area. So we can take the formula for the area of one circle and just double that result, and that will give us the area of the 2 circular surfaces. But we have to add to that the area of the rectangular surface. Now, normally we think about a rectangle in terms of length times width when dealing with area. However, we have to look at it a little bit differently with the cylinder. Now, the width of the rectangle will be the same thing as the circumference of one of the circular surfaces. And the formula for the circumference of a circle can be expressed as 2 pi r. Now, 2 pi r is the circumference of a circle, but in the case of a cylinder, the circumference of a circle is identical to one of the edges of the rectangle, or the width of the rectangle. And the length of the rectangle really is just the height of the cylinder, or how tall the cylinder is. So we are going to take 2 pi r, which is really just the width of the rectangle, and multiply it by the length of the rectangle, which is really the height of the cylinder. So this part of our formula, 2 pi r squared, will give us the area of the circular surfaces, and 2 pi rh will give us the area of the rectangular surface. Now what we're going to do is substitute the values for radius and the height of the cylinder, and then we're going to solve in terms of pi. So let's rewrite this as 2 pi, and the radius is 2, so we're going to substitute the r for 2, and we have to square that, plus 2 pi, and there's another radius, so we put a 2 in for radius in this case, and the height is 5. Now we're going to take this and simplify it further, and we're going to start by squaring the radius. 2 to the second power is 4, and then we can take 4 and multiply it by 2, which is 8. So I can take this part of the equation and simplify it to be 8 pi. And this part of the formula, we can just multiply 2 and 5, which is 10, times 2 is 20. So we can write that part of the formula as 20 pi. Okay, now we have 8 pi plus 20 pi, and this can be simplified to be 28 pi. So we can think of pi like a variable. If you were combining like terms, say you had 2x plus 3x, that would be 5x. Well, 8 pi plus 20 pi is 28 pi. Now, if we were solving in terms of pi, we would already have our answer. 28 pi square centimeters would be the surface area. Now, if you were asked to solve using 3.14 for pi, what I would do first is solve in terms of pi, and then when you get to this point, you can substitute pi with 3.14 and then multiply it by, in this case, 28. So let's take 3.14 and multiply it by 28. Now, the reason that I would suggest solving in terms of pi first is because if you were to substitute pi with 3.14 at the beginning of your formula, you would have to deal with that value a couple of different times, and the calculation would take a lot longer. Instead of substituting for pi twice with 3.14, solving in terms of pi first would allow you to substitute for pi with 3.14 only one time. So let's see what we come up with here. 8 times 4 is 32, and 8 times 1 is 8 plus 3 is 11. 3 times 8 is 24, plus 1 is 25. Now we put a 0 here, and we multiply 2 times 314, which is 628. And then we add our digits up. This is going to be a 2, 9, 7, and an 8. And our decimal goes right here. So when solving using 3.14 for pi, we come up with 87 and 92 hundredths square centimeters. And that is how you can find the surface area of a cylinder in terms of pi, as well as using 3.14 for pi.